how to apply for a small business loan fast and effectively, be very efficient at it, also without having to struggle trying to think, what are they going to do with my information? Are they going to disperse this? Are they going to protect it? My privacy protected? And what is actually going to happen throughout some parts of the underwriting process? But most importantly, are you ready to walk in and apply? I'm going to be going over that and much more. My name is Michael with Viral Funding Solutions. Welcome in. I'm streaming on TikTok as we speak live. I will be publishing this later over to the YouTube channel. Perhaps that's where you are watching currently if you watch this later on. So you can refer to anything you need help with in the bio as well as in the description. I'm going to keep this one very short. It is a Saturday. I want to devote more of my energy and time to other things. Coming up this afternoon, it is 12:15 Pacific Standard Time in Washington. So I'm going to also leave it up for questions, comments, or concerns at the end. So that's why I'm going to let the tape roll a little bit longer. Well, once you get the information, you know where to refer to down below. I have a lot of content on this. And in case you're watching me for the first time, I'm an expert business loan broker who's been able to help a lot of businesses of all backgrounds and industries literally get a little bit of funding, 100,000, millions upon millions, SBA, government funding, perhaps it's an EIDL. You also need help with like cash advances, term loans, unsecured, secured financing, equipment financing, personal/startup loans, other types of alternatives, not so easily seen options, and more. Now, let's address the elephant in the room and kind of work from the start. I always like to work backwards and reverse engineer, as in like when you're in the application, what'll happen at the end. But let's begin with what is very obvious. Are you even ready to apply? It's my question. Even before you're even ready, you think you are, there's another thing before that, and then there's another one. And I don't want to go too far back. I've already created content out on the past on this. I'll try to link you to down below. What I always tell every business owner is you got to think smart about this. You might be already getting contacted email after emails. You're probably getting call, text messages. It's not from me. It's not from anybody I'm working with, at least. And you have to understand who you're getting into quote unquote bed with. And is that partner going to help you build a long-term and or short-term partnership, as well as a roadmap for you to continue to help you grow and expand and go into higher levels if you're not starting there already? And so at the very fundamental, you have to look at who are these lenders, who are these providers, these brokerages, online marketplaces, where should I go? Because you in your head are asking yourself, like I have, and I've received funding in the past, so I know exactly the psychology of getting business funding. And so not a lot of people, like when they try to like think they are being smart about something, or like with me, it's like I know what you're going through, whether it's said or not. And I'm very empathizing with that because I've been in your shoes. So just be honest and truthful with me, and you're going to get the best out of me. Now, what I tell business owners is, hey, who are you applying with? Do you know exactly their process? Do you know how they exactly work? Do you know why you're going to that lender? Do you know what's going to happen if you give them your information? Usually you don't have any of those. Maybe you have one or two, but even those, they're not fully explained, or they're not showing you. That's why you got to speak to someone like myself who knows their stuff. And so I work with the best lenders and team of underwriters and the whole office team. It's usually me a lot of the times individually, and then there's my team that I work with, and then the lenders that have personal and business relationships, as well as the underwriters. Now, what happens a lot of the time is you think you're ready. So you're like seeing all these emails, you're probably going to pick one, or you're just so frustrated, you don't want to start with that. That's why people come to me. They even tell me, hey, Michael, I get a lot of emails. I don't know what they're doing. Can you help me? Yeah, I can show you, and I can even tell you what to do, what not to do. But at the very fundamentals, you have to look at your funding details. What's your FICO credit score at? What does that mean? What is my personal credit? What does it mean to have business credit? And if I have it, how much of it do I have? If I don't have it, what do I need to do? And why do I need it? For what certain level? Because not all require business credit. And then we're talking about revenue. What are you doing in cash flow? I see that down here, so I'll get to your guys' comments in a moment. What are you doing in annual gross revenue and annual gross sales. If it's a higher documentation type of program, perhaps it's an SBA loan, perhaps it's some type of a personal loan. What are your tax returns telling us? Your profitability in business. What is your time in business? What industry are you in? What are the average daily bank balances? We can go even deeper into this. I won't touch those subjects right now. So what I mean is, have you even thought about what each of those little components do to your overall application? Probably not. A lot of you guys go into it thinking, well, they accept bad credit, but you don't understand the parameters. Don't you want to understand the underwriting process? Don't you want to understand exactly what will happen when you start, when you're in the middle, when you're at the end of it? If there's feedback that needs to be communicated with myself and you and or the lender and or underwriters, however that's taken care of, I'm sure you do. You don't want to just be left up in the air wondering what will happen when I start my application, right? So that's a part of it. There's more of it that happens before you start applying. And I actually made a free 6-step pre-approval lending checklist that you guys can pick up in the bio and in the description. I'll leave that along with my questionnaire form. I recommend you fill that out if you haven't, and it'll come with it. And it'll show you the 6 or so steps that I put together, what you need to know before you walk into an application, how to be more attractive in your profile and your fundability details, and how to look more professional, because you don't want to go into this wasting energy and time. I'm not going to waste my energy and time on you. If you're not ready to go into an application and you're just dabbling, you're just trying to see what's out there, you're shopping around, so the only way for you to do that is to submit an application, see if you get even an offer, and then you're comparing. And that's not good in all cases, because the lenders see you in their system. They know who's been applying, who hasn't been serious, who hasn't even declined or approved an offer. You just left it up on the table. We had to close it for you. That's not good. And it's something you have to be careful of, because you work with a lot of robotic systems, especially with these types of, not all, but certain fintech companies, where you're putting in a digital application and they're just spitting it out through a system, kind of like the SBA does, and sends it back out. And yes, you have underwriters and a team of them, but do you have the best? Who's working on that file? How old of an underwriter? You know, this is the honest truth. It's kind of similar to like what happens with credit memos and the credit committees when you're talking about an SBA loan. So I do see, and I'll get into the how to apply for a business loan in just a second. You sent an email and scheduled a meeting, but didn't get back to me. I do practice what I preach. By the way, I did say this the other day. I don't always get back to everybody on time, and I apologize that I didn't mention that I wouldn't be able to make it. This happens time and time again. And it will happen because I'm a very, very busy person. I run 3 businesses as well. And again, like I said, I'm going to own up to that. A lot of people wouldn't. And the truth is, it happens, not all the time, but it'll happen from time to time. And guess what? People are no-shows. So when I'm there, people don't show up and I'm gone. I'm not waiting an extra minute. I'm usually there on time, if not a couple minutes before, or on the dot, sharp. And so there are moments like this where I can't get on right away. I have to take an extra 10 to 15 minutes with the client. I had to do that because it was already scheduled, or I had to do it because it was an urgent matter. And then the lender had to come in. We had to have it like a 3-way call, or something else had to happen. So these things rise. It's not like I can just multitask, and I can at times. Other times I can't multitask. So practice what you preach. I get you, but you don't also understand what's happening on my end. I understand. I put myself in your guys' shoes every day, and I really do. Like, to be honest with you, I'm on top of everything, but at times, this is what happens. So that's no knockdown. It's just hey, what's happening? It's better to ask the question, why didn't you show up? As opposed to jumping to a conclusion that you're not practicing what you preach. Now, to a degree, but if I ask you questions, why didn't you show up? Like, I'm not telling you you're not somebody who will ever not show up. I want to know the reasoning. Maybe you just didn't have the time. Like, I have business owners. You guys do this to me all the time. So it kind of goes back and forth. You guys set up appointments, or here's another reality. I have a lot of business owners right now. Hey, Michael, just send me the documents. I'll send them over to you. And guess what? Like Casper the Friendly Ghost or Homer Simpson goes back into his bush. And it happens. It's the case when you get busy or you're just lacking character. That's what it is. It comes down to his character. I know the truth hurts, but it's what it is. Now, I don't want to get too carried away in this subject of, well, I didn't get there. It happens. Move on. Let's reschedule. And then I'll get on top of that. And actually shows more commitment the second time around if there is ever one. But like I said, I'm on top of these things. Usually I make them. For certain circumstances, I can't. And that's no knockdown to me. That's no knockdown to a character flaw. The thing is, there are moments, like I spoke to business owners the other day. I had to dispatch. I had to do this. They had to take on multiple things that they didn't have their own employees for. They had to lose employees or something happened. Guess what? It happens. Move on. And it's not a knockdown, as I said. I'm always on top of these things, and I care about you. That goes for everybody in here, not just one individual. So let's not jump quick to conclusions because I practice what I preach. That doesn't necessarily mean I won't ever show up. That just means I couldn't get a hold of you when I wanted to. I had you in my mind. I have all the appointments on my calendar. But sometimes I can't tell them ahead of time because something arose that was very urgent of a matter. You don't understand my position. You could say the same about yourself, but I do. I put myself in your shoes more than most times. I put myself in your shoes more than you put yourself in my shoes. That's the honest truth. And so back to the subject, and I'll get back into the comments here. How do you apply for a business loan? Now you know the fundamentals to a sense. There's a little bit more. And I'm going to wrap this up in a bit so I can save more energy and time for my Saturday afternoon and evening. You have the fundamentals. What are your details? Okay, well, what are my lenders? What are the brokerages? What are the opportunities out there? Who am I getting emailed by? What's happening here? How do I need to look more attractive? What do I need to think over? And in terms of my FICO, my revenue, what is my time in business? What is my industry? What are those components at a deeper level telling me? Not just looking at it and saying, I have a 680 FICO. I got 10 years in business. Although I have 30,000, I should be getting 120,000. Come on now. So that's not the case. Now, when you go into the application, and again, there's more before that. You go into the application, you start an app. How does that work? Now, in today's age, there are hard copy PDF apps, and or usually it's digital nowadays, where I can send you one, or it's another way that it's done. You can even upload the bank statements and we can get it in our back portal there and send to the lender. And then there's ways where I can collect it myself and then I can forward it over to the lender. It might be a credit package that I need from the credit bureaus. Not all the time will I ask for it, or will it be asked for? That's an advantage. And they might be asked for somewhere in the middle of the process, depends on the type of service. And then the 3 months of bank statements, 3 to 4, 4 to 6 months, sometimes 12 months or so if you're like in agriculture, rural, certain space. And then copy of your driver's license and avoid the check. It's really all that's needed. Unless you're looking for north of 150,000 or so, then we may request your recent tax return, year-to-date financials. Maybe there's a balance sheet involved, profit and loss. And so if you don't mind supplying that, or if you want to start off with less, if you got a proof for more, that makes sense. Now, when you're going into the app, what you're doing is you're making sure you're filling out your bits of business, but a little bit of personal and business together, usually at the beginning. So personal, and then a little bit deeper into business you get into, filling out those details, your business name, doing business as. If you have a website, put it in there. Maybe it's D&B or somewhere we can verify legitimacy of you and your business. That's what we want to see. We don't need to see a website per se. You have social media accounts, put one in there, put your Facebook account. And so it's very safe and secure with me, by the way. And once you get started, you're going to go through that. You're going to fill out some details, business, personal details. There may be like social, and we're at 20% here, so I'm going to wrap this up soon. 20% social, and that's just for the protection of yourself and ours, so we can see what credit level you're at. And we can verify eligibility and ownership and say who you are. Who are you? And then looking through all these things and documents later down the road when we need them, and if we needed more. But now you're in the process of applying. You're putting in your business and personal information, and then you may be asked to submit docs. If it's an online digital app, we can do it that way. It's actually very flexible and I would say much more efficient on a lot of the times, because sometimes communication can get lost via email in certain circumstances. And then, you kind of wait about 24 or so hours. It can be done before 24 hours, depending on the amount you're looking for in the service. You can do same day instant approval. It can be between 24 to 72 hours, 1 to 5 days, depending on your file. Once you've applied, we can look for an offer or go directly to that one lender and say in 1 to 2 days, what am I looking for? It's not the other way around in a lot of cases. And that's how we look at it. but we got to readjust. And then when you're in the application, you go and apply the different ways, a hard copy, digital, and or what will be asked for, perhaps what will be something that the lender wants from you. And I made a video recently on the YouTube channel about all the documents that are needed for different types of services. I'll get to you in a second. So you apply for the business loan. That's how you apply. You walk into it, and you would want to provide your little details first, business and or personal, usually the two of them. Maybe you'll want to link sometimes you'll want to link your bank account, and it's very safe and secure just to verify. And then depends on how the file is being underwritten, manually or it's automatic. Unless automatic is usually like for higher risk, lower funding cash flow you're doing per month. So we can't always manually look at every one of those files. It's a lot. And so it's very safe and secure, linking bank account, verification, and then just a few other components from there. I can go even deeper on this, but I'm not going to speak about like every little part that you're going to touch on in the app sequence, because every app sequence is a bit different. But that's what you should know. When you go, how do you apply for a business loan? More or less be ready with these documentation. It depends on the service, what things you're going to have to input, what perhaps you might have to connect, and then how much time you may have to wait. And then there's more to the underwriting process thereafter that I won't go into too far. But if people are wondering, what can I walk in with, like a score-wise, it depends on the service. Like if you're looking at a cash advance, for example, you can get in with like a 500 or even a 550, depends on your revenue level. About 4 to 6, sometimes 3 months, 4 or 6 months. Sometimes they require a year, sometimes even 2 years. But that's what it would look like. About 5,000 or 3,000, even 10 or 15,000 in average monthly revenue, or just monthly revenue in general, with a few other components. Sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's 30K, depends on the lender and what they're looking for in your details. And then there are other services. You have a DNB of 80, nice, good job there. Experian 85, love it. Equifax 411, nice. See, you have all this set up. And again, if you caught on, the business credit, the personal credit, those are only a few components of your overall. When you're looking for unsecured financing, you're not offering up collateral. Cash flow is a major factor. What are you producing in monthly revenue, which I have the answer to right here. And technically, yes, you would qualify for a business loan. It would be called a cash advance. And this will be based on your future receivables. You're not quite at the level yet of revenue. But once we get there, I mean, what you already have established, and we have to look at a few other details. You don't even have to be looked at for credit requirements for a certain lender that I have. With 3,000 and above, when you're doing that, you're at 4K. And we want to see that usually within the last 3 months. So if you have 1 month where you're less than 3,000, it'll be a little bit harder to qualify for. But those are some of the parameters. And once you get to a higher level, that's what you got to do. You got to work up. If you feel this money you take, yeah, it might be business operational, but if you're using it for growth and expansion, that 4K or that 3,000K, you might just end up having to start off with because you don't have collateral, you don't have the revenue, you don't qualify for other things, you don't want to get a home equity line of credit. What are you doing? Like, why are you complaining? Like, I'm not saying you are. It's just a lot of people, well, I wish I would have had. No, it doesn't work that way. And so if you started off with like 2,000 to 3,000, what would you do with that? Are you going to double? You're going to go from 4 to 8,000 perhaps? That's going to help you? Okay, now I'm at the 8,000 level. Now I can go up to another tier of service at 5K plus. I can get up to 75% instead of from 20 to 25%. Well, now that I have that 8K per month, guess what? I got up to about 20,000 in 3 months from now, baby. And then at 20,000, now you're above 15,000. Now we can qualify you for about 75 to 200% of your monthly revenue. Now probably you're getting somewhere between 20 to 40,000. Like, okay, great. But it's not yet my 120,000, Michael. Well, what do you want to do when you don't have collateral? No cash out refinances, no equity, liquidity. What are we talking about here? Why are you still spinning your wheels? So you have to start somewhere. And you have 2 years in business, which is, I'd still call that a newly established business. I know a lot of people wouldn't. But it's not out of that honeymoon phase, I'd say, out of the 5 years. But these are some of the parameters, and there's more I can discuss with you. Questionnaire form is in the bio and all. So I'll leave it at that, leave it open for anybody with questions or comments. And again, I want to come back to this. It never bothers me. I get it. I get busy. Uh, like you guys didn't see what I was doing before this, but I have to reroute. I will a lot of the times tell people let's reschedule, or sometimes I can't, and I'm probably gonna be there, and I'll still catch up with you. Sorry I couldn't make it, and let's reschedule this. You have to understand sometimes that these things happen, and it's not always gonna be like, even if it's on my schedule, I can't always like get to it. It's something that arose or something else that had to be taken care of. Maybe there was something family related. Not making an excuse for it. It's just what happens. What do? You don't poke somebody. You don't beat somebody down because they didn't show up. That's bad. I would rather ask the question, why couldn't you show up, Michael? Like, come and approach it with a more, not sensitive, approach it more with a, hey, I'm a bit more understanding. And that's not to make it like give me any kind of room or anything like that. Hey, you run me back. You are welcome, Jay. Like even today, I'm getting a lot of emails, and it's a Saturday. But what I don't get a lot, if I looked at the ratio, more people apply during the week than they do during the weekend. Like you're taking time away or you're still busy, but there's nothing wrong with that. Couple more minutes. And just remember all information to refer to in the bio and or the description. So above it all, when I guess you could say when to apply for a business loan, but you can also address the how. You want to be up here very emotionally stable and confident and certain when you're applying for a business loan or an advance, etc. That to me means the most is when you are emotionally, mindfully 110% confident and certain you can walk into an application. You know you won't get declined. You know you have the expectations of what will happen at the other side. And you can walk out of that being happy. Even if you weren't wanting that offer or whatever happened for whatever reason. You know you took the right steps to get in. That's actually what's very important for me, is for you to be up here ready. Because this is like applying for, exactly applying for like a home, mortgage, insurance, etc. It's a whole different beast. So you want to walk into this not having to apply and spray and pray everywhere, putting your application out to the web, the dark web. Now, it's a big field you have to be careful you're playing in. So about 1 more minute. Okay, so what I'll walk you guys through, because this is open time, I'm filling out a questionnaire. This is what I wanted to end this and get back to all these things. But I'll do it while I'm on this live, so this will be outstretched. If you got what you needed here, great. If you want to stick around and have questions, please do so. What I am doing, filling out one of my clients' questionnaire form. So I'll tell you about a bit of the details and walk you guys through an example of what this person perhaps can get. Okay, so this file here, I won't say their name, I won't give exact numbers, but the amount they're looking for, like anybody else, I'm sure you don't know the answer to how much you can get approved for, which is okay, it's not your fault. You usually get between 10 to 15% of your annual gross sales, if not up to 20%. And then we can also base it on a different scale when we're looking at monthly revenue approvals, monthly sales. Depends. So this individual is looking for north of 70,000. We'll just say that. Their time in business, they didn't even give me if it's in months or years, so I'll have to go dig for their information by their business name. And I need that. Be precise with this. It's too much to go for and find all this information. And it's harder if it's not even there. And I don't mind doing it. It's just it cuts that time and energy. So time in business, their credit less than desirable. They are not going to get qualified because of also their credit and their revenue. So their credit, let's just say, is in the 500s, low 500s. Let's say that, okay, well, they don't have business credit established. They won't need it. That's what they're doing. Their lowest monthly revenue in the last 3 months does not exceed 10K. It's less than that, but just above 5,000. They're averaging in monthly revenue, whether it's for the last 12 or 6 months or so, about 10K plus, I'll just say that. They have an average daily bank balance it's rather healthy for what they're generating in monthly revenue. We'll just say it's north of 2,000. Annual gross revenue. This is the part that I have to kind of look at even deeper. But we're just gonna say they're doing north of 130,000. Their highest monthly sales in the last 6 months. So it just tells me, and I know this industry very well. This person is in the construction space, so this is where it goes up and it goes down, fluctuating. I could already tell, especially with that average monthly revenue being so apart, and they won't get anything close to that. Their average monthly sales in the last 6 months. Let's just say they're doing north of 8,000. What are they looking for funding? Working capital, that can mean a variety of things. Existing business loan, here's an advantage. They don't. So they're new to this field. They don't necessarily understand how it works. There will be some backlash with these types of individuals because they have to come to terms with that they're going to get a medium to higher rate. And if they don't qualify, what do they need to do to fix that? This individual is a fixer-up. And so over here, when do they need their funds? As soon as possible? Well, unless you look at getting another alternative, non-traditional, non-mainstream, I'd like to say, way, then it'll be difficult. Now, the business industry, as I said, construction, I won't say their business name. Any additional notes, they didn't write me anything. It would be helpful to see that. But I'm going to put their file here together, now that I have you guys. And I'll kind of walk you guys through what a scenario like this would look like. What are they going to get offered? Now, they won't qualify for... actually they will. They'll qualify for one of my lenders who is going to only approve them for about 20 to 25% of their average or just their monthly revenue. And they won't get close to what they're doing in monthly revenue at the moment because of the approval amounts that they go up to. And it might be up to 5,000, so they'll probably get 5,000 and below. Now let me move this out of the way. I gotta kind of move this screen. So there'll be one lender out there who's willing to take a chance on this. And this individual, I'll say again how much they're looking for, north of 70,000. I'll say that. They're not going to get anywhere close to that. And again, that it has to do with cash flow. Even with collateral in play, the type of service, the type of lenders that I have, they have annual revenue requirements. And we're not just talking only on personal. We're looking at business and personal in a lot of sense to see how we can get the return on our investment if you were to default or in a different circumstance. So I'm going to put hi, their name here, and then I'm going to go into filling out the rest of these details that's customized for himself as well as yours. So this is the part where I'm going to show him my lender who is going to be the best fit for him. And he may not want this. He's like, what? This is the reality. And I explained to you the realities. So you're not questioning anything. Because most people will. They'll be like, oh, don't give me enough information to know that. And they can go continue to shop. So here, I'm putting in, appreciate you guys for tuning in too, by the way. If you're just joining me, I'm going through a questionnaire. Now, this individual is going to most likely have to go through the self-employed 1099 gig worker / contractor funding, and it fits right up their alley because they're in construction, contracting work. And so here, this is the product from one of my lenders that we can only approve you up to $5,000. Well, revenue is an issue, credit is an issue. You're not above 550. Our lenders won't look at that. They'll want to say, hey, this is the actual better lender for me to take you to. So here, up to $5,000, this person's looking at between 20 to 25% of their monthly revenue is what they can get approved for. I'm not going to get into the whole specifics, but they can look at getting a weekly repayment as opposed to a daily. It can probably help restructure their cash flow. Now over here, they're depositing well enough above $3,000 per month, and just a few other circumstances, so we can be more flexible there. I gotta erase this here. Yeah, that's all there. Let's put the note here. Now, I was just letting them know how this lender wants the specific information supplied. And I even made a review of this lender and or program that they can watch. So it's an advantage to you. Now, this won't work. And this will not work due to your level of personal credit. And this one here, if I go back to this file, like I said again, like what is 2 years? I'm assuming. So what I got to do, I'm gonna have to look through their business name. I could have done that in the beginning too if I wanted to. And this will tell me more. But again, like I said, I gotta go digging up this information. Like it's better just to have it ready. Okay, so yeah, they have 2+ years. I already saw that. And then over here, you will not qualify for this service. And let me charge my phone. I think we're low on battery percentage. You guys want to wait for me here? See how well this holds. Okay. Hey, how are you doing? Yeah, they're not loosening up by any means. They're, if anything, they're going up more. Uh, that is because we're heading into this next phase at the end of the year. Everything that's going to start at the beginning of next year, we're still unsure about making any kind of changes where we're going to loosen up on that. And again, this is everything I know from the lenders. Like, I work with the best and then the underwriters, so I'm always understanding of what they're telling me. What'll get harder, I believe, are in a way like the cash advances out there. Like, lines of credit is one thing that's like super tightened up recently. Like, the amount of negative trade lines, the like bankruptcies, and the amount of time allotted to a lot of these different issues, childcare support, more things being added every single day where people are getting declined even more. It's multiplying. Now, what I say in the cash advance space, and this isn't the only space that I work in on all of them, SBA related, anything you can think of. The way that they're going to restructure who gets their money, it'll be a lot less than what it already is. People are going to receive less money because of things like supply chain issues, and like a lot of restaurants, it's one industry that goes out of business quickly, even a little bit more post-COVID. There's still a lot of problems, especially with payroll. And that, to a lot of lenders, is a big reason that they don't want to lend you money, because if payroll is your primary use, they won't give you as much. So it already is a huge knockdown there. But there are a lot more reasons. I don't want to disclose all of that now until it's something that does, like, all publicly or non-publicly, but I can actually disclose more of that information. And it just becomes overall more of a, I can't get the amount that I want to start off with type of thing, where, like, for example, right now I had a business owner get approved for, he was supposed to get approved for, and I spoke to my lender of about 180K, not a little bit more, but they actually approved him for about 100,000. I mean, 80,000 or so difference, but we're getting into like 80 to 100,000 difference. That can go even up a little bit higher. And that's because of all of these issues happening, not only with the government, that's aside from everything, but our economy, economies of scale, everything happening at a micro and macro level. It's just causing a lot of problems, and lenders don't want to lend as much. And it wasn't as bad when like COVID came. Like, when COVID started, my God, like, these lenders did not lend. And even the A-tier lenders, let alone the ones at the very bottom. But the ones at the bottom then started to come up to the top because they knew how much business owners were taking on too much debt. So they could only afford to go through these lenders. And those were the ones that were making a lot more money. And it's a game where they don't want to lend as much. And here's what happened. I had a business owner just the other day. He's beating around the bush. This is an individual who, hey, we can't wait on you for a week, man. Like, there's times where I can say to my lender, because I have a great personal and business relationship with, because you know me, like, oh, it's Michael, it's fine. He's worked with me before. This is what happens, guys. You guys don't see these things. And there's more to this. This isn't the only thing. And yeah, we can hold it off for a week, a month in some cases, especially if we're dealing with a lot more money. We're like, okay, yeah, we can hold it off for 3-4 months. Where another, or not 3-4 months, but like 3 to 4 weeks, where another person would have then been like, no, I don't trust you. Can we get this done in about a day? We'll give them at max 2 days, not even a week. But because it's me, and because I've had that relationship with you and with someone else, etc., it frees up more time. But what you're seeing right now is they're tightening up on how fast you take funding. They don't want you to wait a day, 2 days, even a day to two is enough, because they need to circulate their money. They need to generate more money. That's how they make money, by lending you that. So if they're holding on to it for too long, whatever is sitting in their bank, if they have anything there, it's collecting dust. It's becoming more expensive. It's not becoming valuable. And already the dollar is far at a stretch. And so these are just some of the many things, but there will be more that continue to come up. And I could touch on a lot more, but we're just going to leave it at that. You're still looking to line up a line of credit of $1 million. Nice. And buy a fleet of trucks. Yeah, here, let me see. 1 second. Got you. There you go. With tier 1 credit, that helps. And just so you know, let me come back up here. Yeah. So when you're looking for a fleet of trucks, it kind of already shows me how established you are, especially with the amount you're looking to seek. Trucking or any kind of equipment financing form, especially the transportation industry, it is a very high risk, like super high risk. I have a business owner right now he's doing 50,000 on his lowest month, and he's getting approved around 30 to 40,000 in a lump sum. We're not talking equipment financing, that's different. So if you're looking for the funding you can apply, like a line of credit towards those fleet of trucks, that's what you're looking at doing. That's what I'm hearing here. You already have it set up where I don't want to do equipment leasing or doing it this format. I get you. I know this world. And so you are looking at getting the million so you can apply for those fleet of trucks and possible other things you need to upgrade and things you need to move up, maybe bring in some more people. But if you can get a lump sum on top of a line of credit, perhaps that can help you, because in a line of credit, it can be a bit more difficult to get approved as much as you do for a lump sum, if that makes sense. You get generally approved between 50 to 80%, if not 50 to 100%. With lump sums, it's like 50 to 150, or usually 100 to 200%. So you can always add the two together. Now, I want to go in here and see something really quickly. It's brought to my attention. And just so I have mention of this, did you fill out my questionnaire, by the way? Because I do have a lot of fluoruses. Believe it or not, I have them all right here. There's a load of them. I just want to make sure if you did that I can verify it by first and last name. Oh, sorry. Believe it or not, I have a stapler behind my phone and I'm charging it, so I don't have my connector where I can have it stand up. This way, if you did, I can actually move you to the top if it hadn't been already filled out. And just so I know, because I want to make sure I have the right flores. I don't want to be like, this was Rhonda, this was... There's like so many of them right here. And a lot of the times I can identify people like really easily. And then there are instances where I just have to see a new face a couple more times. But okay, yeah, I was just saying if you had filled out my questionnaire. I believe you did, but if you didn't, the reason I bring that up is if you did, please share with me your first and last name. And I have a lot of fluoruses on my, I have them all right now. I can see them. So I just want to make sure I have your first and last name that I can verify with. And like I said, sometimes it's easier for me to see somebody and I know who they are. Other times I can't even tell because of their username. Yep. So okay. It's right here. That's what I thought. Now, I just wanted to make sure, so I had this correctly. And here, that's the one I was looking at. 1 second, Jesse. Okay, so you've been around for some time. Perhaps you missed this email because it landed in your spam box. But I hope it was you because I have this. You filled out a form some time ago, or there's a replica Jesse Flores out there. But I have responded back to it. Perhaps you didn't see it. Perhaps you get a lot of emails, but it's all in there. Yeah. I can always resend it to you. Another thing you can do, Jesse, because I have updated that form now, can I send you the questionnaire form again? It would make more of a difference because I have more details you can input and then more to go off of, and then I can have even a deeper look. That's what I do with a lot of people sometimes. It's like, okay, it's been 6 months. I don't even know if this is accurate anymore. By 1 or 2 months, I can work with that. But if we're looking at 3-4 months, I usually send people back the form. So let me do that right now. And your email, I'm not going to say the whole thing here, but it ends in transportation, right? .com. I'm going to actually do that as we speak. And since you're wanting up to about $1 million in the line of credit, I'm assuming that, would you say equipment financing is kind of out of the window? Like, you don't want to go down the equipment financing route. You'd rather try to do it with my revenue. Like, if we looked at your cash flow, deposits, everything, it may be in a situation too, like I said, line of credit, business term loan, or line of credit / cash out advance, line of credit, personal loan, like installment loans. Don't think you're just gonna like sometimes always just have one option. And this is awesome about this field is even if you don't want multiple things, it ends up working out in your best favor. And you're gonna see it and go, okay, well, if I get 1 to 5 years here and this one's only giving me 1 to 2 years or 12 months here in a line of credit, then I can do it that way. I'm a commercial broker, so I work with those direct lenders. I have the direct lender partnership. I've always thought about being one too, maybe in the future, because I know how they operate. Direct lender partnerships, so I can go to them directly, that I have already great personal and business relationships with. And then secondly, this is actually what the market is speaking to today, and this is what I actually recommend most, and I'll tell you why in a second. There's direct. I won't start naming those companies out there, but I have plenty of them, and they're very safe and secure and the best that are out there. A tier, B tier, C tier, etc. And then there are the brokerages. There's the brokerages where I already have those direct lender partnerships. So it's more of an in-house setup that I have. And that's actually where a lot of people should be going. Even if you have A-tier details, that's where you want to go. Because there may be just one lender I go, hey, we'll send it to this file. Boom, this lender's going to look at it. But there's more flexibility because you have better early payment discounts, no prepayment penalties on the contract, and sometimes you don't get that everywhere else. You will probably get it, but there's some conditions that have to be met, some kind of volume. And then there's a lot more. So again, I already have those direct partnerships. I just prefer that like kind of brokerage setup because sometimes it's just one we can send it to. And then we go, there's 2 or 3 that will look at it. I'm just going to toy around with the fact, but I'm not actually considering them. And we protect your details. It's very safe and secure. We don't shoot your information everywhere. It's going to affect your FICO. Don't think that. I have a lot of people who ask me that question. I don't work with faulty lenders. Again, I work with the best. So I'm not going to start getting into all the names, but just know that I work with them and they are very safe and secure and they know me. So whenever we come into this, then I go over here. And then if it's shopped around, it's one thing. But if it doesn't have to be shopped around, it can go one lender. And shopped around doesn't necessarily, it has a wrong connotation for people, but shopped around, if you're doing it with the wrong lenders, if you're doing it with the right one, it's not like it's going to be sent to everybody. We're just toying around with it and seeing if they're willing to come in. And if they're not, then I already had my first lender here. Because I had a business owner recently. One second. I had a business owner who, I said this the other day, approved for $40,000 in one company, we got him $100,000 somewhere else. Because he followed my direction. Follow my lead. It's like we're in the, you're in the forest. It's so dark. You're afraid of wolves. You're afraid of bears coming to attack you. And then you see somebody with a lantern or a light just coming up to you and say, hey, come with me. And then just walking you back. We're not even jogging back. Not even a scare in the world. Just come back to safety. That's what a lot of business owners need. But unfortunately, they don't have that like lantern, that person that helps them and guides them. There's people who take advantage of them. And I'm very sorry about all of that. Truthfully, sincerely, because it sucks. And I almost like cried one day for a certain person because they are going bankrupt and they made the wrong choices. And then another business owner in the trucking industry who took out like 3 cash advances to pay and get multiple trucks. He said, oh, I don't ever want to do these. Well, you were already cash flow negative. You were suffering with cash flow. You were not projecting this to happen in 3, 4, 5 months. So why did you do what you did? Okay, maybe you did have a different situation. Well, okay. But, you didn't have business credit. This is why you got what you got. Got it. Yeah, I saw that earlier. You prefer not to do equipment financing. Common. I get it all the time. How do you get business credit cards? I'll cover that in a moment. Hold on, let me come over here. I want to get through some of these funding questions. Do you need to, I'll say, supply personal information to get business funding? Yes. It's like, and I can go even deeper and ask and say personal guarantees, but I'm going to not touch that subject. Usually everything does require a personal guarantee. Just get on with it. It happens. Now, yes, we want to check your personal details because it's an instrument that tells us how you or who you are as a person. It's a characteristic thing. It's a morality issue. If you're not making your payments on time, or how is your payment history? How are you taking care of your bills? What kind of inquiries? Are you building trade lines? What's negatively reporting? Why is that the case? And I can go even deeper into the subject. So if you feel like your personal information, you don't want it to be like taken in a bad way, it won't be. There are people out there who do that. I don't associate with them. I don't have time for that crap. And so when you come with me, it's very protected. And just know that it may be that you need to pick up your credit score, whether you do it yourself or it's done for you with credit repair. And I have a lot of people right now doing that. A lot of people. And then people are like, holy crap, I need to build my business credit. They didn't qualify for SBA loans. And here's the case. If you want a line of credit too, business credit needs to be established, which we just kind of just saw that more or less. So having that kind of profile is going to really help. Or merchant receivables. Got it. Okay. Appreciate you. Thanks. Now let me come back up here. I don't want to spend a lot of time on business credit cards on the fact that I'm spending it on funding. So if you're just joining me, I'll upload this later to the YouTube channel. I spoke about how do you apply for a business loan. The truths. People don't reveal this to you. You go on YouTube, how do you apply for a business loan? Oh, you want to, they like butter you up, or like I'm like, what? Like I watch some of those videos and I go, no, that's outdated, or no. You didn't tell them enough of this, or you didn't have to say enough of this, but you shouldn't have gone that direction. So there are different ways of looking at it. So it's not as straightforward as always going online. Like people want to get a business credit card just by applying online. For example, like Wells Fargo, Chase, Inc., Wells Fargo secured credit cards, business, platinum, gold, etc. American Express users out there. But you first have to understand what are the details of those business credit cards. Do you know that? Let me ask you that first. And have you already been looking for a certain business credit card but just don't know how to get it? So yeah, there are ways of doing this online. You can even do this in your bank, Wells Fargo, whoever you're banking with. A lot of the times what they do is if you're looking for funding, they try to like upsell you with business credit cards. So whoever your authorized banking user is, or whoever you're with, banking manager, etc., these are certain ways, but it's not the only way. Let's face it, we're in a digital age now. You can literally find anything online, Brex, Wells Fargo, Chase, anything you can go and apply to. But you just have to meet the criteria. And if you don't have that, it'll be difficult. And what that does then, after that step, it then allows you to, when you're making purchases, you're using different vendor accounts, like Quill, maybe not Quill to start with, but Uline is one that I'd begin with. Granger has kind of been tippy-toeing a little bit lately when you're building business credit. But a lot of the times with these, you can get in with 0% introductory rates for up to 12 months or so. Thereafter, you're looking at, getting the interest. You just have to know what you're paying and how that money's being used. It's no different than when you're getting funded. Like, I'm getting interest. I'm getting factor rates. Credit cards, like, maybe don't start off that way in certain ones. But thereafter, what's happening? What'll happen in 3 to 6 months? What'll happen after 12 months? So it all comes full circle at the end of the day. And again, there are various ways of going to apply for these business credit cards. I just gave you a few examples. And that's because I don't want to spend a lot of time on it right now. Good question. How long does it take to build business credit? I wouldn't say it takes less than a month, to be honest with you, unless you have some kind of history already. Maybe you already have open business credit cards. What kind of limits are already on those business credit cards? And that actually will push it. But I'd say somewhere between usually about a month to 2 months is when you can start seeing credit being reported. Excuse me, sorry about this. Let me move this out of the way. To the major business credit bureaus. One or more. Just depends on who you're applying to or who you're making purchases from. Staples, Dell. There's a lot of different locations and vendors. And so it could start reporting within 1 to 2 months. I'd give it up to about 2 months, realistically speaking, 2 to 3 months. And this all goes into how many purchases you're making in a month and what those are being applied to. It's not just I'm making $5 payments every single or $30 payments every single week. It's how you're strategically doing it. What types of purchases are you making? It's like 1 week I just dipped my toes and I made a $30 purchase. And I know that's relatively low for a lot of people. Like, I needed $5,000. So you start off with $30 for an example. The next week, then you say I made a purchase of $30 again, but then I made an extra $100  2 days after that. And then I needed something for $500. So 500, 600, accumulating 630. So 30 compared to 630. What do you think is going to help you best? The 630. But you take the averages of those weeks and you continue to build, and your credit profile continues to rise. You get access to higher limits. You get more flexibility with vendors. You get like A tier right here. You get higher types of vendors you can go apply for. Retail, gas services you can start off with in the beginning, but it opens up the doors for you to make more purchases for what you need, and you have it all on business credit. Like, what's better than going to Amazon, Target, or anywhere, a retailer, and making a purchase that you need for your business instead of using always cash advances to supply yourself? And now you have high rate, but it's not high rates that's the issue. It's cash flow at the end of the day. If you're looking at it as a rate thing, it's a cash flow problem. So looking but don't want to use your social security number, yeah, then perhaps that could be a route to take, as I've been talking about business credit building. And you have a block on your personal, you have like a freeze, you want to unblock it. But when you're ready, got it, TD. There's a lot of comments. Let me move up here. It depends on the lender. So like an SBA lender will look at taking a first lien. They want to take first position. They don't want second, third, or however many multiple positions if there are any. Now it depends on the collateral, if any collateral needs to be offered. So it just depends. Like with a cash advance, we can look at a couple of liens. It's not so much of an issue because we're not taking collateral, blanket liens, factors. But it's not so much of an issue when you're looking at that. I could see it more with the unsecured term loans. The monthly lenders, they want to take a first position in a lot of cases. So they don't want to have, in the event of a default or anything happen, that they get partial or nothing. It makes sense. How are they going to recover their money if they were only given like $20,000 out of $180,000 that they were supposed to receive, but the other lenders got it? So I can sympathize with that. And what happens is if they take second, third position, what do they do? Obviously, they give you less money. They factor in their return on their investment. I would be doing the same thing. So if I were in the Shark Tank, this is what I do myself and I work with people on is, what are your sales every month? Okay, now what are your sales from a year to year? Well, I've had 1 year in business. I've generated 400,000 or 500,000 in sales. What does it cost to create the product? And what are you selling it for? Well, okay. Well, I see marginal gain. I see marginal loss. I see profitability in gross profits. And then I see net operational income. Okay. Those numbers, if I were to give you this amount of money, I would have to see this return on my investment. And that's what a lender, myself, that's what we're all looking at. And there's more details that go into it. Yes. 5K limit, keep building. Yeah, but Amex is a good one for sure. I have a lot of business owners who actually right now, they're putting so much on their credit that it's time for them to like refinance, consolidate debt. And just know this, if you're trying to do that, you can only put about 50%, up to 50% to consolidate that debt. And the rest of it needs to be used for growth and expansion. Okay, you answered her question. Appreciate you. Thank you for answering that. So I was about to. But yes, and then no. See that? I would say so. I mean, I can't say for you. What everybody needs to get out of their head here, it's like the rates. Like when people ask me, do you think a 7% rate? Do you think you already know the answer, but do I think a 19% rate? I mean, what is your business? What are you doing? Like, how are you cash flowing? All right, I don't want that kind of interest. Well, the benefit doesn't exceed your repayment with what you're doing. So, how about collateral? Uh, well, positions? Well, not sufficient. Like, I had a business owner who wanted to get an SBA loan with an apartment complex considered as collateral. They won't consider that. So, just have to be careful. Let me come up here. Sorry, I'm going to scroll from the bottom up. Yeah, I mean anybody can co-ownership, ownership over 50%, over 20%. It depends on how much ownership you have of the business. You can use business credit honestly for a lot of different things: fencing, decks, any kind of construction project, hardware stores, anything you need supplies for. That's what business credit building allows you to do. I think more than anything is make those types of purchases for those kind of reasons. That's why a lot of people they start with those services. Like if they were to get approved retail first and foremost, like you have to think about what kind of services can you get. So a lot of business owners need supplies, tools, and all these different components. So they start that way instead. I don't think they're offering the 10 million right now. No. They have it's not going to be at 4% either. So I haven't seen that. I have to look at it deeper. But I don't think they do. I know their business credit cards and a few other components of the about 100,000 to 500,000, securing it with collateral, with monthly only interest payments. But I'd have to look at that a little bit more deeper. And I just know that at the 4% level, like let's be honest, it could be more difficult. I mean, SBA related, you look at amortization and you look at 504 loans, like, yeah, you can get underneath the prime rates to a degree because you're extending the term and it's for real estate. So that's a different animal. But when we're talking about other business related activities, non-real estate, the prime rates, like today you see 5.5. And I was expecting something to happen in this month. Maybe there's still some room. And it's being worked out with everything in the background that I'm getting. So if it were to go up again, 5.5, you could be looking at 5.8, 5.9. I'd say 6% more realistic. But just be more prepared for those prime rates to come up. And I'm always on top of this. There's just so much that happens on my back end. It's crazy. No on the collateral. Depends on what you're applying for. And yet, no and yes. That's a double-sided question. Depends on if it were SBA related. I mean, you could get up to about 90% financing in a lot of cases, up to 75%. I'd say more realistic. 90%, then we're getting into more of like commercial real estate, but up to about 75, up to 85%. You always see a business acquisition loan, specifically the SBA. A lot of this is where it's become like when you brought up the guidelines, like lines of credits, cash advances, etc. That's one part. But then business acquisition lenders have just kind of like dissolved. Like they transitioned to the only ones really who are looking at that are the SBA. And in most circumstances, and I'll say what could be not the case on this, it's a 10% down payment at most with business acquisition loans. We wouldn't usually see them go over 10%, 15, 20%. That 15 to 20%, those would be other types of funding services and other things you need the capital for. But at least 10% down payment in most cases what we would need. And what's most important, I do these deals all the time. What I know, and I know all of this very well, it's the financials of the business you are acquiring, whether that's a franchise or not. What are their financials? Are they the four things? Cash flow first from the SBA they look at, liquidity, equity, collateral. So collateral, if you see that's the last thing they need, what is most important for them? How is the business generating sales? How much are they generating in sales? What are they doing year for year, 2 to 3 years plus? How much time in business? The more time in business, the more credibility, and the more room you have. But that's what they want to see for first and foremost. And there's more that goes into this. If that's something you're interested in, I can give you more details on. I just don't want to jump so deep into business acquisition, that world. But I do finance those deals a lot of the time. I just had to shut down a business owner recently. Here's an alternative. I shut down a business owner who wants a chicken franchise. I'm not gonna say the name, but it's just under 2 years, and unfortunately, the financials aren't like the tax returns. What are we gonna get? A year and a half? No, and so that already, if they had more financials with their tax returns, business federal tax returns, that would have enabled my client to get an SBA loan through them. And they had the business credit established with Dun & Bradstreet, but they still need to see what's happening with Experian and Equifax. So that may just have discounted them. So what their option then was, hey, how about we do a combination of a bank term loan? You have high enough credit. This would look attractive. We can offer you 2 to 3, 5, and or 7 years. Depends on what you're interested in, as well as you can kind of pick, and then you can look at the details. On top of that, we can do a personal loan. So those two would have been the most attractive. Or personal loan, cash advance. Personal loan, installment loans, you can even get a line of credit with it. Or you could do a line of credit on its own, unsecured with these private lenders, and then you can do some form of a personal loan and then / a bank term loan. So it's kind of like, well, if I took a line of credit, what type of payment am I getting? Well, monthly, then I can't get a monthly here in a lot of cases on a term loan, and then So there are a lot of ways of being flexible of getting you this type of financing. And in a personal loan, you're already seeing like 1 to 5 years. So if I got 3 years, which is not bad, and then I got an extra 2 years there, then I'm going to pay off actually much faster because I received less and early payment discounts. So you're kind of running these scenarios where it's not necessarily wanting to get everything in one place. It's saying, how can I get the most amount of funding? What would it look like in 3, 6? Do all this stuff quarterly. Visit it every month. You should be visiting your financials and looking at this, sitting down, even before the month is over. I would do it every week, at least 1 to 2 times every week. So you're on top of this. Myself too. And when you walk away from this, maybe you're like me and you have your laptop out in front of you. But I sent you the email too with the questionnaire you want to resubmit. With me, like I said this, it goes without being said. I said it the other day, but if you know me, you know me. It's very stress-free. Like, I don't even know what the word stress is as much anymore. I love what I do. This is like a hobby to me. Like, who can say that your business is your hobby? If you have that, raise your hand. But that's why I'm here with you today. Like, I'm at my younger brother's house, by the way. This isn't mine. I'm watching his dog. This isn't the seat that I normally sit on. But look at this. I'm here. I'm present. You are welcome. And I look forward to working with yourself too, Jesse. And I'm going to give you the best. My personal, my business. And you'll know that what you can qualify for after you fill out that questionnaire. I'll have a better sense. And be as specific on it. Don't just like leave something blank. In the additional notes, give me a little bit more. I already know you need it for a fleet of trucks. If there's anything more you need to add on top of that, non-payroll we're going into. So I remember all these things, just so you know. And they always say you remember somebody most because of what they shared with you personally. And not to do that to an extent today. I've done a bit. Yesterday, I almost cried, literally. Like, I don't know if you guys were here yesterday, but I almost cried. Like, I wasn't going to touch the subject. I'm not sensitive at all. I'm the oldest of two. And I started to speak about my dog. And damn, like I said, I wouldn't talk about it. And so I just held back from doing anything more. But a very sensitive topic for me. And my dog is what pushes me every day to live. I'm going to be very honest with you guys. Like, my family, my why before that was big enough. But seeing my dog passing, my dog brother, and having to hold him in my arms and seeing what he was struggling with after 15 years, Peekapoo, small dog, and, you know, having to feed him with the syringe, bone broth, chicken, meat broth, he wouldn't even want to eat. Like, we would feed him weenies, and it's funny. We wouldn't always feed him dog food. We'd give him like Wendy's burger patties. We'd give him Carl's Jr. patties. My life, man. Like, the last 6 or so months that I had with him, being able to be with him, like, you don't know. Like, you may have been with somebody who lost their life, and you were there every step of the way, so you know this. And that's what this was. It's like you cherish it more. Like, losing them was just, man, I loved life. Like, it just got me like fired up like crazy. Like, I lost the best thing that, like, he kept pushing me, like, not being in a relationship for such a long time because I devoted my time to him because he needed that. And, you know, having my little dog, my brother that I can turn to when I was tired, when I was stressed out a bit during those times, or where he just saw me when I was the most vulnerable, like nobody sees me as. And he showed me, you know, like pets, they show us unconditional love, and they're there for us regardless. And he always would come see me in the room. He would get out of his little bed downstairs, and he'd come into my room where I was working, and I'd open the door for him. He knew the routine. I'd put him on the bed with the blanket. He'd lay there with me. I'd like give him a few little cuddles, you know, and just, hey, everything will be okay. And then, you know, those last few moments, those last few days, we didn't think we were going to do it on a Monday, but we agreed as a family that we would take him in that day. And, you know, had the last few moments with him. And I told him, hey, even before we took him in, I had him right here next to the window. And he was always like crying because he had a what's it called? It's the latest stages of kidney disease. And he already had like his broken bone, like his foot. So we could only walk like on one, and he couldn't walk anymore because he didn't have the strength. And we thought, okay, you know, quality of life. And then the doctors told us that too. We knew it. It's just, man, I couldn't even look the doctor in the eye. Okay, it was so bad. It was like, I'm a very strong person, but when it comes to my dog, when it came to my dog brother, like, it was like losing my younger brother. It was like, he's around. Okay. But it's how I treated it, because he'd been with me for so long and under my care, under my responsibility, under, you know, our family. And, you know, it's a great outcome because you do, again, like I said, it helps you cherish life more when you walk through somebody like that. And so every day I pray. Every day you could call it a shrine, but like a little We have cabinets, and I have pictures of them, and I go over there on a Sunday. Like tomorrow, I'll go sit down and I'll my house, and I'll just look at them, and I'll just sit there with them because it's a Sunday. I want to relax, and uh, I tell him, like I'll be there one day. I'll see you at the other side of the rainbow. Just be waiting for me there. And he's the reason why I push even more nowadays. Thank you. But like everything, it just gets better in time. And when I was in that grieving stage, it was just like I was in my head a lot. But yeah, like I said, you heal that wound, and it's still going to be there every single step. But life moves on. They would want you to be better, and you got to live your life through them. That's how I see it. And I say, I'm living my life through you. You're here with me. I even do little weird things where I'm like, I pray before I eat, and I go, Gizmo, this is for you and I. Here's this burger patty. Enjoy this with me. Literally, I do these things. Like, he loved eating those kind of things. And so it just brightens up everything. And it's kind of weird, but not at the same time. Hope you guys can understand that. It's just something that I recognize, and I appreciate the very little things in life. Like the larger things, the money, no. For me, it's what I do with that individual, like how I can help mold somebody, or what I can do to impact. If there's just something small that they took away from me, I'm okay with that. And I'm an introverted person, so I'm not going to continue to speak. I'm more internally about things. So I'll let this go for about another minute. I have to get back and finish a few clients' information. I'm going to take a break, get a quick snack, and then I'm going to jump back onto this. Finish about 2 or 2:30. So does anybody have anything else they would like to leave me with? What is my fee? I'm not going to charge you that fee, but I do have my team. And it's not necessarily a fee in terms of what we're going to be charging you. There's usually like an upfront cost to building business credit. Like I have a specific system that I use that I recommend most people do, and they try to do it themselves. You can talk credit card fees and application fees. There's really not much of an application fee. It's just an upfront cost. However you want to pay it, on what terms we can allow that. And that comes into invoice factor and a lot of these things. But have a system when you're building business credit. And I show you guys what that is. You get access to like all the vendors you can apply to and what those qualifications are for each vendor. So you're not like losing track of what you're doing. That's what you want ultimately. Not, hey, I'm using my Wells Fargo card, or I'm using my Amex card, and that what it was supposed to report to. Like I get that every day, literally. Like I go into the credit reports. How do you check your business credit bureaus? How do you do all of this? And you need to get your business credit reports. If you're not credit monitoring, what do you know is reporting? like you don't think lenders want to see this, but they do. They want to see a bulk of information being built. I want to see that. I want to know what you're building out. I can give you an assessment before you even apply, and I know, okay, how much? Well, I'll have you built, and then we move from there. Talk to you soon. You are very welcome. Yes, I didn't plan on it, but that's just one personal aspect of an encompassing amount. Hopefully you guys got to see some of that. And again, I didn't expect to bring that up at all. But yeah. So about 30 more seconds. And I'll leave you with this, with those 30 seconds. I'm a very punctual person, so if you're going to put the energy into it and time, energy first, time second. You can say that they're a derivative of it. So I'm a very diligent person. A person the other day, oh my God, I hated this. And I hate it when people just tell me, hey, I'll give you the documents, or I'll do it this way. And I get things come up, but you never allowed yourself to give me feedback. I had to be the one. You told me you were going to call. What? Okay. I don't want to have to be the one to, I got to call. Like, it's okay, but like stick to what you're gonna do. And if you can't, just tell me, or just, hey, something happened, I couldn't get back to you right away. It's okay. But beating around the bush and just it's just icky. I don't have the energy and time for it. Neither should you put up with anybody like that ever. So I'll take care of you. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please refer to the bio description down below if there's a comment section later on if you're watching this on YouTube and so forth. That's it for now, everybody. Take care. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you guys come next week.